You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.
Hello, all. Welcome to another episode of Armchair Cricket Podcast, a cricket podcast focusing on Test cricket by armchair critics of the game. I'm your host, Ajit, and after a couple of episodes missing in action, we have our regular co-host, Giri, joining us. Hello, Giri. Welcome back on the podcast.
Hello, Ajit. I was not missing in action, my friend. I was just too busy. A lot of things happening in the world right now. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So I hear, you're not very far off from the epicenter of coronavirus as far as Netherlands goes. So how are you doing? And how is you and yours, as they say?
Well, I'm not sure if this is actually the epicenter of this whole thing, this coronavirus. We're not too far away as well, but so far it's been okay. It's been quite normal. I don't see any difference in my day-to-day life. I still go to work. Mm-hmm. I still come home. Everything is fine by the time I come home. The country, like every other country in the world, is taking some measures. So is Netherlands, as you know. So people are being asked to work from home as much as possible if their job allows it. And there is also an option for kids to go to school or not. It's up to their parents if they want to send them. It's not really a lockdown like it is right now in Italy, for example. Mm-hmm. So in Italy, I think they've basically closed down their borders. People cannot leave the country. People cannot enter it. And you've also might have heard of travel bans for coming from India, US, Israel, and all these countries. But we are, I think, a little more. I think it's a bit more free over here. You can still go out and do what you want, but you have to be careful. Of course, for your own safety as well as for other people around you, more vulnerable people. Let's put it that way.
Right.
But it's brought the whole world to their knees, I guess. So everybody is feeling the impact in one way or the other, especially the economy. The global economy is suffering.
Indeed.
So it's massive, and I mean it's also taking a toll on, like I said, in all arenas, especially sport. All sporting events being either postponed or cancelled, and it has also not spared cricket. Right. So, how do you feel about this?
Well, as I was talking to you before the recording began, right? We called it cricket in the time of Corona, right, Giri?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what is that? Well, I know about another Corona, by the way. A different Corona, something that can be consumed and does not make you ill.
This is my rather sad take on a very famous novel, Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it or watch its movie adaptation, but it was me trying to be funny and yeah. Yeah, the other Corona, well, if you've had enough of anything can make you sick, right?
Yeah.
And apparently Corona beer is reported a very big loss this quarter thanks to this scare from Corona, right?
Yeah. So doppelganger.
You can never be too sure. People are probably a bit nervous, considering what Corona means, and maybe that means they're not consuming Corona beer. That's a bit weird to hear, but I can understand that people are a bit nervous about these things, right?
Yeah, but I think it's the same for all kinds of things. I think we both might have seen this also in supermarkets here. People holding stuff. Yeah. It's a bit of a crisis. People think it's the end of the world, doomsday scenario. They're stacking up everything at home, from frozen foods until toilet paper. I don't know what you'll do with toilet paper, but anyway, people must find some use of it. Otherwise, they wouldn't empty the racks in the supermarkets. But yeah, it's really crazy. It shouldn't be like this, but yeah, people need to stay calm. We're trying our best, right? So we are trying to stay calm as much as we can. Are you not?
Well, yeah, we are doing our best for sure. And also, as far as I'm concerned, I would continue to try and do the podcast whether there's cricket or not, right? So the best way to retain sanity is to just go ahead and be yourself, try to do most of the things in the same way. But I mean, it's always easier said than done. We know this as well, right?
Yeah, I think there was, if you remember, coming back to cricket, there have been so many cancellations and postponements. We'll come to that in a bit. One of the most important series that we were looking forward to in the Netherlands has been called off, right? So wasn't that between Netherlands and Namibia?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the casualties of this unfortunate pandemic that's currently going around is the Netherlands tour of Namibia has been called off,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this was something that, would, as fans of Netherlands team, we would be very much looking forward to. Unfortunately, this has been called off. So similarly, the other ongoing international cricket, for example, England's tour of Sri Lanka has been postponed.
Mm-hmm.
India South Africa series, ODI series, which the first one had been rained out, has been completely called off.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, with very stringent measures being taken by New Zealand, right? So the Chappell-Hadley ODI series, of which
Yeah.
one match had been already played, has been
Mm-hmm.
called off, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Then you had this MCC versus SX game, which is usually played in Dubai, I think. So this is always MCC versus the champion of the previous domestic season in UK.
Mm-hmm.
So this one has been called off as well. So you can see a lot of cricket worldwide has been hit, right? For example, even uh, BCCI has been forced to reconsider. So it suspended all its ongoing domestic calendar matches. Same with Cricket West Indies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even when it comes to big tournaments. So you see that IPL has been, the start of IPL, which was supposed to be 29th March, has been
Mm-hmm.
postponed to 15th April. And then it's a wait and watch every week, right?
Yeah.
As Ganguly said in a press conference recently, it's a wait and watch. They look at the situation every week and they monitor, and maybe we don't know, even the IPL's calendar might be slightly not tweaked to fit this year's remaining days, right?
Less matches, maybe. Yeah.
hmm Also, for example, the PSL that's ongoing, I think more than 10 players, 10 foreign players have left Pakistan and returned back to their home countries because of this fear of this disease, right? So it's really seriously affected cricket. I mean, I can joke about it, but a lot of money, I'm sure, in the business world, not just cricketing world, has been
Mm.
lost,
Mm.
right? A lot
Yeah.
of business has been affected, a lot of everyday activities, a lot of, some of us who work in IT are a bit lucky, I must say, because we're able to work from home. But what if you are working with people? What if you have I don't know, a shop that sells stuff, especially food and other things? So you're really, really hard hit. So we really hope, the pandemic is on the way. It's just peaked, and it'll be on the way down shortly. So, in a 15-day period, or maybe in one or two of our episodes time, if I may speak like that, this entire pandemic will run its course, and we are free of it. I really hope that, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a very serious matter, like you said. It's affecting everyone, one way or the other, directly or indirectly.
hmm
People have stopped traveling, for example. So I think that's also going to affect a lot of economies around the world. But aside from that, I think we will miss a lot of action in cricket. It's a shame, but it is what it is. We can't change that.
hmm
But we'll keep talking about cricket, whether it's on the field or off the field, right? So
Indeed.
there will be some news or the other that we can talk about. It is at least a good thing that the Ranji Trophy finals
hmm
was able to conclude, right? So in a good way, so they were able to finish that match, right? That was played between Saurashtra and wasn't it Bengal? Did you watch that match?
Well, I caught a couple of sessions here and there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it was beginning a bit early in the morning for me, so and for you. So it was a very tensely fought final, right, Giri? So it was a very old school, let's say, 5-day cricket match where the pitch was a bit flat. I mean, it looked like it was very dry. So most people were worried probably it's going to be a 3-day game or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That in the second day, spinners will really come to the fore and there'll be a lot of problems, so on and so forth. But it turned out to be exactly the opposite, because not all 4 innings could be completed.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very old school, like a very stolid way of playing cricket, Saurashtra, who are more, let's say, watchful and had the higher first inning score, won the trophy in spite of the final being a draw.
Yeah, yeah. They were lucky to win the toss, I think.
Aha.
Mm-hmm.
Bengal's coach and mentor Arun Lal had something to say about it, right? So he was unhappy about the status of the pitch, and that in spite of it being a final, the pitch was really not the best that could have been arranged, and so on and so forth. So he said, look at it. What if you had lost the toss? If you have won the toss, you're with the advantage. All you have to do is basically bat for 2 days. Put up a total that is really big enough that will get you the tournament or get you the final. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. But I think if you look at the scorecard, like you said, Saurashtra made a handsome score to 425. They were all out. Their middle order clicked. I think the top order was also okay. Couple of 50s in the top three. And then there was a century by Vasavda, batting at number 4. He scored 106 runs, but out of 287 deliveries. So with a strike rate of less than 37. So he basically ground the opposition attack. He was supported by none other than Cheteshwar Pujara, who made 66 runs, but out of 237 deliveries. And a strike rate of less than 28. So it's a typical Pujara innings, of course, but I heard that he was not feeling well during the match. Did you know what happened to him? Was he able to, take the field after he batted, or do you know
No. I think by the time he finished the innings, by the time the first innings of Saurashtra was completed, there already came the news that Cheteshwar Pujara will not be able to take any more part in the match because he had back spasms apparently.
Okay.
It's an old injury that has recurred. But he was brave enough to come out and bat for his team. And, to bat out 250 odd deliveries, even having a back problem, that's very well done to him. And I think he deserves all the plaudits there. And, for me, the turning point as far as this final goes was basically, let's say, the last 2 wickets that Saurashtra were able to add more than 50 runs, right? So they were 364 for 8. And from that point on to drag it all the way to 425. A lot of credit goes to Dharmendra Singh Jadeja batting at 10 and the captain Jaydev Unadkat, who was strangely batting at 11. He's no mug with the bat, Unadkat, right? But he was at 11. So that shows the depth of this Saurashtra team. And also, I read something very strange. So Bengal, whenever they have bowled first in this entire year's tourney, have never considered more than 250 in a single instance when they have bowled first, right? Because they had this very reliable three-pace pronged attack. Ishan Poral, Mukesh Kumar and Akashdeep. Even Karnataka suffered against them in the semi-final when they lost. The same thing happened. But in this case, Saurashtra deserves the credit because they were able to hang on. They were able to bat for more than 170 overs. And they got to 425. But if you remember, there was a test like this when Australia visited India previously, when India were very slow in the first innings, but then they made up time and then they were able to finish out the game. So it was something similar, I would say. Even there, I remember Pujara taking a lot of time, 7-8 hours to, compose a very nice 100, which led to, India clinching the game or at least drawing it comfortably. So when it comes to their turn to bat, Bengal were good. They had a lot of solid contributions. Sudipta Chatterjee, 81, then Tiwari, 35, then Riddhiman Saha, 64. I'll get to this. Anushtup Majumdar, 63, and then Nandi making 40. So basically, I think Riddhiman Saha, they say, was a bit lucky on the fourth morning when Bengal looked to be, trying to push forward and trying to get the lead. I think in the very first 10 minutes, there was a lot of action where Riddhiman Saha is said to have gotten away with 2 clear, what at least Saurashtra fielders felt was dismissals. So one was an LBW that Mr. Shamsuddin, the umpire, did not give. And then I think you have something to recount there, I'm sure.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, Shamsuddin didn't give, but then, which was then on referral became umpire's decision or became umpire's call, right? And then he survived another very close, shout for a caught behind, after which he was able to make 64. He was plucky. He was able to make it count, but Bengal fell short, right? They were about 45 runs short in the end, and then that was the decider because it was nearly a single innings shootout. Bengal were all out on the last day morning. So all that left were 2 sessions of game. And at the end of, let's say, by the tea on 5th day, Saurashtra had already made sure they were not going to lose this game because they had a little bit of a lead. They made another 100 runs even though they lost 4 wickets. All they had to do was bat out time from that point on. So there was no point in really continuing. And, Saurashtra were as far as I'm concerned, deserved winners. They made it to the final. They did well, right? They had tough opposition right through. And once they made it to the final, they made sure they capitalized on it. It's once again heartbreak for Bengal. So they have to wait at least another season to try and win the trophy again. Right, Giri?
Unfortunate for them.
But story of Shamsuddin. I think you carried a bit of grudge. Would you like to relate to us?
Well, I didn't see this live, but I read about this. Apparently, Shamsuddin got in the way of a fielder's throw. I don't know if that was deliberate. No, I'm not going to say that. That's very sinister. Should
Right.
not say that. But
Right.
apparently, it was hit, and he had to be taken off the field. It looked like he couldn't take the field after that. And one of the other umpires, I can't remember his name, had to umpire from both ends because Ranji Trophy finals apparently means that you need to have a neutral umpire. And the third umpire was in fact a local guy, so he took the role of a leg umpire while the other umpire kept, standing at the bowler's end.
I think you're referring to Mr. K. Anant Padmanabhan.
Anant Padmanabhan?
Yes, he was let's say the other umpire, the other on-field umpire, and Yashwant Balde was brought on. He was the fourth umpire. The third umpire was Sundaram Ravi, the international umpire. So
yeah, but he has DRS expertise, right? So he was the only qualified DRS operator. About which I have a question actually. Was DRS being used fully this time, or were there some missing elements like ball tracking was not available or something like that? Do you remember?
No. As far as I have heard, it's the same DRS that's used for international matches.
Okay.
So this is the same DRS that was used in the semi-finals and the finals.
Okay.
The players were allowed to use it, just like how an international team captain is allowed to use. Right. Sorry to go back to it, but
no
I think I'm going back to this anecdote that you told me off air about Shamsuddin and something to do with the semi-finals of last year's Ranji Trophy. Can you relate it to us?
I can't remember if it was actually Shamsuddin. I hope it was. Because, there was this famous dismissal or non-dismissal of Cheteshwar Pujara. There was a clear nick and Pujara did not walk. He had every right to stay his ground. But the umpire apparently did not hear the nick, whereas everybody on the ground, probably even the spectators or even the coaching room staff, heard this, except for the umpire. And Pujara did not walk, and it turned out that Pujara played a match-winning innings there, and then Karnataka were defeated in the last semi-finals, 2019, right? So that season. And Saurashtra were beaten in the finals against Vidarbha, of course. Vidarbha won it in their home ground. But it just brought me back those memories. And Pujara was again, such a crucial player in this lineup. He made sure that Saurashtra were able to bat so long. And I think that, like you said, it was a turning point in the match. Him coming back even after he was sort of retired hurt overnight. As you said, Saurashtra may have been deserving winners, but I would have liked to have seen Bengal win this thing. They had a very good team, especially that fast bowling attack you mentioned about.
Indeed.
It's a shame. They have to try again next year.
Indeed. But I think, the emotional favorites were Bengal, but they were really unlucky to miss out. But going ahead from one final to another, let's quickly have a talk about the Women's World Cup final, the T20 World Cup final. Giri, were you able to catch any of it, or at least did you follow it on the media maybe?
I only followed it on the Cricinfo app, only the scores. I saw Australia won the toss and decided to bat. And then I just realized India were never going to win this. I think India played the first match against Australia in the World Cup, and then India batted first and contained Australia basically. But on this occasion, I think Australia were too good. They posted a 190 odd runs, right? So it was too big a task. And for some reason, Indian women's team doesn't seem to have this killer instinct or the drive or the firepower in them to come up with the goods when it really matters in the finals. They were really good, very consistent. As you might remember, won every one of their league games. Also got a walkover in the semi-finals against England because of washout. But I think they were probably a spent force by then. I had expected a better performance, but the bowling didn't click. They gave away too many runs, and you might have some finer points to talk about, but Australia, for sure, fifth-time winner, right? So they were the best team. They still are the best team, even without Elise Perry, their stalwart. Yeah, they were too good on that day. India have to try again.
Yeah, I agree. But look, it's the fifth time that Australia have won. You're absolutely right. But they were the better team on the day, without a doubt. And they were the team with the killer instinct. Look, the very first ball of the final, Alisa was hitting it out for a 4. Then the rest of the over was an absolute, let's say, it shambles from Deepti Sharma, who always opened the innings with the ball for India. And somehow she was very nervous. And there were 3 full tosses in the final. So I sat and I saw most of the final.
Yeah.
And as you say, as an Indian cricket fan, you were a bit disappointed at the halfway mark. It brought back those terrible, terrible memories from 2013, where, as an Indian cricket fan, you knew halfway it was going to require a miracle for the Indian team to win. And that's exactly how it played out, unfortunately. But also, look, a lot of credit needs to be given to Alisa Healy, who played out of her skin, right? 39 balls for a 75 with 5 sixes. That's not something ordinary in a World Cup final, right? So she took 30 balls for her 50, and this is the fastest 50 in any World Cup T20 final, men or women. So she needs to be given credit for that, right? Once she got out, though, I mean, look, they had already gotten to 115 in just the 12th over, so they were always going at 10 an over. But the man of the series, was recognized as the man of the series, was Beth Mooney. She was the one who held the, let's say, one end down, and then after the 15th over, she accelerated beautifully. And 10 fours, 10 boundary fours, most of them hit along the ground. So you saw the quality in her batting. Like, she's a very, very dreamy left-hander, very much a la Sangakkara or somebody, and she batted beautifully, right? And then there was really nobody else to support her, but it didn't matter in the end. So they were looking good for 200, and India were able to, small consolation, they were able to pull them back to 184. And India needed a miraculous start, right? Shefali Verma and Smriti Mandhana needed to give them the sort of start that Australia got. But Australian bowlers were too good, frankly. So the very first ball of the Indian innings, we were all excited. Shefali Verma simply tonked it straight down the ground behind the bowler's head. They ran 2. In the third ball, Megan should pull the ball a little back, and Shefali couldn't adjust to it. She was still committed to the front foot, and she got caught behind. So there again, Alisa Healy, the keeper, comes to the fore. She was standing up to the stumps, and that was a wonderful catch. Wonderful anticipatory catch, right? So in spite of having 12 batters, one of them was retired hurt and they had a concussion sub, India could only total 99. So that itself was very sort of disappointing for me. Australia were really good, no doubt. So Megan should led the way with 4 for 18, and Jonathan, who opened with her, took 3 for 20, and that was all great. But except for Deepti Sharma, who hung around, who took some time and made 33, there was really nobody. Only Ghosh, I think she's also another 16-year-old. She was the concussion sub for Tanya Bhatia, the keeper, who got hit on the head. She was able to come out and make an 18. So it was all exciting to see, but you had seen let's say the horses had bolted and the door had to be closed or something. It was a bit late. So that left a bit of a sore point for me. But it was a wonderful, wonderful tournament overall, a wonderful, exhibition of cricket, very high level cricket. And Beth Mooney was deservedly given the man of the series, as I said, and Alisa Healy was the man of the match. So this is well done to Australia, who won their 5th one, and that's a fantastic achievement for them. So I would like to congratulate the Australian women's team, and also in front of 86,000 people, Giri.
Yeah,
MCG was feel like, it was the first day of, the
Boxing Day test.
Yeah. Indeed. Right?
Yeah. It's a fantastic thing to know that, there were so many people watching the match. Amazing advert for women's cricket. This needs to happen all over the world. It just goes to show that, Australia has real, true cricket fans that come out to watch in scores. Sorry for being a bit peevish because you kept saying man of the series. It should be player of the series and player of the match.
Thanks. No, it's right. You're absolutely right. It's
just to be a bit correct politically.
Yeah, it was a slip of the tongue. I think it rolls out more easily to me. Man.
I know. It was not intentional. It was all with good intentions. But anyway, so a couple of points I would like to mention here. I know Shefali Verma was a failure in the finals. Fine, she was consistent throughout the series, throughout the World Cup, but not on this occasion. What actually concerns me is Harmanpreet Kaur's form throughout the World Cup. She never got to a very big score, if I'm not wrong, correct me. And even the final, I think she got a single-digit score, right? So she didn't seem to be her usual fluent self. She's a good striker of the cricket ball, and she kept missing. I think she was also bowled. She was batting against West Indies. She seemed a bit ruffled, let me put it that way. And also, I still don't understand why Veda Krishnamurthy bats so low down the order. I think she should be up there. She's one of the more senior pros, and she is definitely an impact player. So she's a hard hitter, like she showed in the last league game. I don't know which team that was against. Was that against Bangladesh? Yeah, it was against Bangladesh.
Yes, it was against
She
Bangladesh.
made a very crucial 20-odd cameo, with which India were able to make that jump from 120 to 140, and then they were able to win against Bangladesh. Of course, Bangladesh was not so strong; they didn't have any power hitters. Fine, but I think Veda Krishnamurthy should be played up the order, probably just before. If you look at the lineup in the finals, I think Tanya Bhatia played at number 3. She should have come a bit further down the order, and then Veda Krishnamurthy should have played at 4 or 5, maybe 5. I think they missed a point there. Maybe they had a few things to. They had a pre-plan or something, but it doesn't matter in the end. India lost, which is a huge shame because I was hoping they could pull this off. I hope that this forms a good platform on which so many young players coming in, so many teenagers, like you said, Ghosh, and then Shefali Verma, just a 16-year-old female version of Virendra Sehwag. She could be even better than Virendra Sehwag, I think. She is incredible. I saw a couple of sixes that she hit against Bangladesh. Unbelievable. She is such a clean hitter. And she clears the boundary comfortably. She hits 85, 86 meters sixes. And that's comparable with what Rohit Sharma hits, for example. So it's incredible.
Wow.
She has amazing power. And there are also some stories about how she began to play cricket and how she has ended up with playing women's cricket. And in the Indian squad, she played with boys apparently when she was young. She played when her brother was sick, and she just played with his T-shirt on, and then nobody realized this was a girl.
Good God!
Yeah. So
that's a Bollywood story waiting to happen, right?
Exactly, just like that movie that Amir Khan made, Dangal. You remember?
Indeed.
Yeah. So this might be another one of those, and she's incredibly good. And then you have Jemima Rodriguez. She's also, I think, 19 years old. And she's also a very good batter. And then Harmanpreet, of course, needs to pass on the baton. I don't know who the next captain will be. She's still got some years, don't get me wrong. But yeah, you have Deepti Sharma. I think she's still in her early 20s, 23, 24. She's a very solid middle order batter. She keeps the innings together like she did against Bangladesh. And then, of course, Veda Krishnamurthy, more of a finisher. Yeah, I think they have a very good squad. They have a lot of spinning options like Poonam Yadav, Rajeshwari Gaikwad, and then Ghosh. I think that's the other lady, right? So they I think they sort of missed that experience that Jhulan Goswami brought with her, right? So they don't have that. Apart from Shikha Pandey, they don't have a good seamer in their squad. So maybe they can work on that. I think this is definitely a very good squad. They can build on this for sure. I think they have the ODI World Cup coming up, right? I think that's the next tournament, big tournament. And I hope that with this squad, they make a lot of improvements. And Vurkeri Raman, I think he's also a very astute guy, the former Tamil Nadu and India cricketer.
Yeah.
He will for sure take it forward, take this team forward, and they can be a winning outfit for sure. I really hope that this happens. This is very good for cricket all around the world.
Look, you're right. Harmanpreet Kaur, the batter was somewhat missing, right? And also she didn't bowl a whole lot during the tournament, which was also a bit surprising for me. But for me, the most important thing indeed, Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur, between them they can destroy teams. That was unfortunate that they went a bit missing in the crucial stages of the tournament, but it can happen, right? So as you say, they have a solid core, and as at the end of the tournament, Harmanpreet put it, she believes in the team, right? And there is a lot of talent there, and they have a long way to go. So it's just another step in the learning process. Let's just call it like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you were to move on, let's take a quick look at the last one-dayer that was played before the sort of coronavirus bans sort of set in. So this was the one ODI that was played between Australia and New Zealand. That was the first ODI of the Chappell-Hadley Trophy. So in this case, Australia comfortably beat New Zealand. So, batting first, Australia made 258 for 7, which was sort of a little less of a score. This was played in Sydney, by the way, and in front of empty crowds, right? So most of the tournaments that have decided to continue or are continuing have decided that they'll play in front of empty stadiums so that, there is no chance of any health scare. So in this case, David Warner made 67, Aaron Finch 60. So they set up a platform. They went to 124 for 1 in the 25th over when Warner was dismissed. But after that, except for Marnus Labuschagne, who made 56, and then Mitch Marsh, who made 27, there were not a lot of major contributions. Pat Cummins sort of took Australia past the 250 mark, but that's about it. So a lot of credit goes to the New Zealand bowlers. So Trent Boult and Lockie Ferguson opened. This sort of shows probably the way in which New Zealand will probably play ahead in ODIs, right? The Tim Southee experiment or the Tim Southee experience as far as ODIs have concerned, maybe, sort of a thing of the past. We'll see how it stands. But Ferguson was fantastic with the new ball. I saw a couple of those, overs from him. He bowled, I think, 152 kph at some point in time, the third or the fourth over of the match. That was fantastic to see. And Mitchell Santner took 2 for 34, and then Ish Sodhi took 3 for 51, right? But when it came their turn to bat, Australia were fantastic on the field. So it looks like a bit of a sluggish pitch, not normal for Sydney. But, the fast bowlers, basically Mitchell Starc and Hazelwood, tied the batsmen down the whole way. Or sort of New Zealand could never take off. They never even had a run rate of 3 going into the 11th, 12th over. And they had lost 1 or 2 wickets there. So Martin Guptill made 40. And then Tom Latham made 38, sort of counter-punching 38. And then Colin de Graham down 25, but a bunch of teams going down from that point on. But that was it. So New Zealand were 187 all out. Josh Hazelwood was sort of back and firing on all cylinders. He took 2 for 37, and he was wonderful to look at from a spectator's perspective. His spell was fantastic. Pat Cummins, incisive as always, 3 for 25. Mitch Marsh, who was sort of a bit unproductive in the previous ODI series versus South Africa, took 3 for 29, and Adam Zampa took 2 for 50. The one of the talking points of this game for me was the ball with which Adam Zampa dismissed Kane Williamson. So it was a googly from hell or googly from heaven, depending on how you look at it, right, Giri? So it was very reminiscent of the ball that Kohli was dismissed, I think, by Adil Rashid. If you remember, in the last year when India were touring England, and in the last ODI. A googly that completely bamboozled Kohli, and he played in the wrong line, and just it went on to hit the middle stump. It was a similar ball, wonderful ball. So that was another talking point for me. So, but unfortunately, after this, the rest of the series got called off. Yeah. I don't know if it means Australia have retained the Hadley Chappell Trophy, or maybe the series stands cancelled. I don't know how that goes. So interesting.
I think it will be counted as a series because they played a match already, right? So it probably will be 1-0 in favor of Australia. It will be recorded as a match. So is that India-South Africa match that was called off in the Masala, right? Yeah. So that was it's still recorded as an ODI match. But yeah, I think it's a real shame. I think this was just about cooking up, or it would have been a very nice series because New Zealand were fresh on the back of their series win against India in the Test series, right? So it would have been nice had they continued this, but anyway, we can't do much about this.
Right. There was also another interesting series. In this case, this was a T20 series played between Ireland and Afghanistan in Noida near Delhi, where Afghanistan have their home series, right? This was a wonderful exhibition of T20 cricket that we saw. Actually, it happened sort of on the down low, now with not a lot of people following maybe, and the matches were broadcast live on YouTube, so that was nice if you're a cricket fan, right? So it was a 2-1 victory to Afghanistan. But what I would like to talk about is the last game, where it was one of the most thrilling matches that we have seen in a long time, because it went into super over, and off the last ball of the super over, with 5 runs required, Kevin O'Brien hit a 6. Right, so it was a very topsy-turvy game, a wonderful game. So this was a real nice game to sort of watch if you're a cricket fan. And Afghanistan comfortably won the series 2-1, and they looked like they were also going to win the third one, but Ireland were able to come back, right? So having made only 142, Ireland defended it. I think a lot of credit goes to McCarthy, who bowled the last over of the regular game and conceded just 8, with Afghanistan requiring 9. And even those 8 were thanks to Rashid Khan, actually, who hit 14 of the last 4 or 5 balls he faced, and he took Afghanistan to a tie there. So he also did something incredible in that game, where with 5 required of the last ball, he hit a 4 and tied the game, right, Rashid Khan. And then when he came to bowl, unfortunately, he couldn't, control the 8 runs that were required, and they were able to win there. So it was a topsy-turvy game right through. So it was all in all a wonderful game. So this is something I just would like to mention.
Yeah.
So, outside of that, there was this trip down the memory lane. I don't know if you saw this Road Safety World Series that was played in Mumbai, Andheri.
No, I didn't watch that now.
Yeah, there was this amazing, recollections. People coming to watch Sachin. The first game, which was between India and West Indies, had 26,000 people attending. This shows the kind of craze or the kind of devotion that people, the Indian cricket fans, have for Sachin, right? And the first game was between India Masters and West Indies. Two great cricketers were facing each other again. So West Indies had Lara and India had Tendulkar. So all in all, it was a really good thing if you were watching this. So this was another noteworthy thing to talk of from, outside of the cricketing field. Right? So also, we hear a lot of this. The World 11 versus Asia 11 matches have been postponed. The Sheffield Shield last round could be cancelled. Right? So all of these sort of are indicating more and more that, countries are going to wait and watch for the next, let's say, 15 days, 20 days, and maybe a lot of cricket that was scheduled is going to be called off.
Yeah.
Right? Let's probably discuss how it goes in one of our upcoming episodes. Now, if you were to quickly take a look at the trivia section. So the trivia question from the previous episode was an interesting one, right? So the question was, can we name a pair of brothers-in-law who are currently playing in men's international cricket, right? So the answer to this question is Mushfiqur Rahim and Mahmudullah from Bangladesh. So they are brothers-in-law. So that's the answer. And if there is any other international, brothers-in-law playing international cricket, please do let us know about it, right? Now, the trivia question from this episode is, we talked a lot about the Ranji Trophy final, and so Saurashtra, we said, won the Ranji Trophy final. But when was the last time Saurashtra won the trophy, Ranji Trophy, right? If you look into the history of Ranji Trophy, you'll see a couple of teams have multiple names that they have, the names have evolved over the years. So if you look closely, you might actually identify when was the last time Saurashtra won the tournament. So that is the question. So you can give us the answer to this question either by leaving a comment on whichever app you follow us on, whichever podcasting app I mean. Also, you can give us the answer through, Twitter, where our handle is @ArmchairCricketPod, or you could write into us at armchair.cricket@gmail.com. These are all ways in which you can get in touch with us also if you want to let us know what you think about our podcast and if you have any suggestions or comments. So even though a lot of cricket that was supposed to go on has been cancelled, I think us cricket fans can take a deserved break, Giri. What do you say?
No, I don't think we need to take a break. There is enough to talk about. There is enough things happening around the world, even if there is no cricket, like I said. So we'll have plenty to talk about, for sure.
The fans can take a break, but we don't need to take a break. I said fans can take a break from watching cricket, but we are good. We have enough to talk. So I do hope all our listeners, all our supporters are able to join again and tune into in all our upcoming episodes. So that's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from him. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Armchair Cricket Podcast.